All right, let's dive into something pretty big today.
Okay.
The CTMU, the cognitive theoretic model of the universe.
Right.
And wow, this is,
Yeah.
listeners sent in a bunch of papers and discussions on this one. And
Yeah.
it's ambitious, to say the least.
It's a big one.
It really tries to be the ultimate explanation for, well,
Everything.
yeah, for everything.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what was it about the CTMU that really,
Well, for me,
yeah,
I think what's so fascinating about it is that it doesn't just try to unify physics,
right.
which is what a lot of theories of everything aim for.
Yeah.
It tries to lump together everything we experience. Consciousness, meaning
Yeah.
even the laws of physics themselves.
Yeah, it's a framework that puts the mind right at the center of reality, which
Yeah,
is a big claim.
Yeah.
It's not something you hear every day.
No, not at all.
So how does it do that?
Well, that's where these core principles come in.
Okay.
And the first one, mind equals reality, or MR.
MR. Oh.
Is a mind-bending one. It suggests that reality as we perceive it isn't something separate from us.
Right.
It's like intrinsically linked to how our minds are structured.
So it's not just that our minds are observing the universe, they're playing a part in actually shaping it.
Think of it like, imagine a cartographer making a map, right?
Right.
The map isn't the territory itself,
Right.
but it reflects the territory's features.
Yeah.
MR is saying our minds are like these maps. They reflect the deep structure of reality.
That is a radical departure from how I think we normally think about
Absolutely.
things. It's almost like saying that the universe isn't this like giant clockwork machine.
Yeah.
It's more like a language that
Yes.
we're all kind of reading and writing at the same time.
That's a great way to put it.
Right?
That actually leads us to another key principle of the CTMU,
Okay.
the metaphysical ontology principle, or MAP.
MAP.
Now, I know it sounds a little intimidating,
It does sound a little intimidating.
but it's basically about self-creation.
Okay.
The CTMU says that reality has to be self-creating, self-explanatory, because there's nothing outside of it to do either of those things.
So it's like a self-writing computer program or something.
You got it.
It's just constantly like generating and refining itself from within.
That's the idea. That reality kind of bootstraps itself into existence.
Okay, so that's two big ones we got.
Yeah, two down,
Two down, one to go.
one to go.
What's the third part of this?
The multiplex unity principle, or MU.
Yeah, MU. Okay.
And this one's all about how reality can be this unified whole while also expressing itself through all these different perspectives.
So it's like we all have a different piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
We all have a different perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
But together, it creates this one big picture.
It's like looking at a city from different angles.
Right.
Each view is different,
Right.
but it's still the same city.
Well, that's the same city, yeah?
The CTMU says reality's similar. It's this unified whole,
Okay.
but it's experienced through countless individual perspectives.
Yeah.
And they all kind of contribute to the richness and the complexity of the whole thing.
So we've got reality as this self-writing program. We've got our minds as these maps that are not just of the territory, but they're actually helping to shape the territory.
Yeah.
And then we have this idea that it's all one big interconnected thing, but experienced in a multitude of ways.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's
a
a
lot
lot.
to wrap your head around.
And from the materials you sent over, it seems like even those who find this theory interesting
Right.
still have some reservations.
Of course.
So what are some of the main criticisms that you've come across?
Well, a theory this big is going to bring up some
bound to.
some skepticism,
Yeah.
and it does.
Right.
Some folks say it's just too abstract, too difficult to really test.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with concepts that are that theoretical.
It's hard to like design an experiment.
Right. And because of that,
Yeah.
some people question, well, okay, even if it's true,
Yeah.
what's the practical value here?
Right.
You know, it all seems very speculative.
Yeah. It seems like a classic case of extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, which is
Yeah.
kind of a
It's hard to argue with that.
hard thing to get around.
Yeah.
But I imagine that Christopher Langan, who,
Right.
originated this theory, has some thoughts about these criticisms.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He'd argue that a true theory of everything
Yeah.
has to be a little abstract.
Right.
It can't be simple
Yeah.
because reality itself is not simple.
Right. It's like trying to,
Yeah.
summarize the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy in like one sentence.
Yes.
You're gonna lose
A lot of nuance.
a lot of detail. Yeah.
And so Langan would say by calling it too abstract, you're kind of missing the point.
I think that's fair to say.
Right. Like if you want a theory that really grapples with the big questions,
Yeah.
you got to be willing to do a little work.
You got to stretch your mind a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what about this? I mean, what about this idea of testability?
Well, so he would say that
Yeah.
even though it's not maybe testable in the same way that,
Right.
tests certain scientific theories,
Right.
the CTMU, it's grounded in logic.
Okay.
And for Langan, that's a very powerful tool.
So it's like he's building a philosophical framework and then saying like,
Right.
let's see where the science goes. And who knows, maybe in the future we'll have the capability of, of testing these things.
It could be that centuries ago, people were having these same discussions about things that now we understand. Like
Absolutely. Like the Earth going around the sun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe the CTMU is just
Ahead of its time.
ahead of its time.
So, okay, I'm starting to see why this is so fascinating to you.
Fascinating.
Because you don't, very often do we come across a theory that really tries to kind of like
Completely redefine
everything.
Yeah.
So let's say, for the sake of argument,
Okay.
that this is on the right track.
Yeah.
What are the implications here?
Whoa,
What
wow.
does it actually mean?
Yeah, that's the big question.
Yeah.
And the CTMU has a lot to say about that.
Okay, like, for example.
Well, for one thing,
Yeah.
it suggests that, this isn't just some cold, dead universe.
Right.
This is a self-creating,
Yeah.
self-learning entity.
And if it's learning, what's it learning from?
Right, and that's where things get really interesting.
So we're not just passengers, you're saying. We're
Yeah.
really part of this.
Yeah, we're active participants in this
Yeah.
learning process, this self-creation.
And that if our minds are like these reflections of the universe's structure and it's learning, does that mean...
Does that mean that our minds have the potential to evolve along with it, to learn along with it?
Whoa.
It's a big one. That's a really big
Yeah, it's a big
idea. Like we're all characters in a book that's writing itself.
Yeah. And with every choice we make,
Yeah.
every experience we have,
That's feeding back into
we're
it.
contributing to that story.
Langan uses this term, telic recursion.
Okay.
And it's kind of like this feedback loop between consciousness
Yeah.
and the universe as a whole.
Yeah. Okay.
Our actions, our experiences get fed back into the system.
Yeah.
They influence its evolution and that evolution.
Right. So it's not just that
It shapes us.
we're all connected in some kind of abstract way.
Yeah.
It's really saying that my choices, my subjective experience,
It matters.
actually influences this.
Yeah, it matters.
It really matters.
On a fundamental level.
Yeah, on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
That brings up all sorts of questions about free will and
Of course, yeah.
determinism, right?
If the universe is self-creating
Yeah.
and our minds are part of that,
Right.
how much free will do we really have?
Yeah, are we really making choices? Or is it all just some kind of cosmic algorithm?
Yeah, yeah.
And it seems like from everything you sent me that Langan doesn't shy away from these
Oh, not at all.
big questions.
No,
In fact, he really leans into them.
he loves it.
Yeah.
He sees the CTMU as this,
Yeah.
not just as a theory of everything,
Right.
but almost as a guide, a roadmap
That's right.
to human potential.
Okay.
Like if we can really understand the way reality works,
Yeah.
then we can learn to use those principles.
So it's not just about understanding the universe out there.
Right,
It's
exactly.
about understanding
ourselves.
ourselves
Yes,
and our place in it.
and the power of our own consciousness.
Wow. If the CTMU is right, what does that mean for the future?
Yeah.
Could understanding these principles lead to
Oh, knows.
breakthroughs in technology or art or
Absolutely.
even just our understanding of consciousness itself?
Yeah.
I mean, it's really
Those are the questions.
wide open, isn't it?
They are. It really is. It's a theory that,
Yeah.
it doesn't give you all the answers,
Right.
but it gives you a new way to think about it,
It gives you a new way
a
to
new perspective.
look at things. Yeah.
Yeah, and whether or not it's right, I mean, that's up for debate,
Sure.
but it's certainly thought-provoking.
Yeah. I have to say, this whole deep dive has really left me with more questions than answers.
That's a good thing.
But in a good way.
It is a good thing.
It's like it sparked this curiosity, this desire to learn more, to explore these ideas and see where they go.
I love that. And that's what a great theory does.
Yeah.
It makes you want to,
It gets you thinking.
it makes you want to think.
Well, on that note, I think we've both earned a break from the theoretical stratosphere for a bit.
Yes, I think so.
Thanks for guiding us through this deep dive into the CTMU.
It's been my pleasure, truly.
And to all of our listeners out there, we hope this has given you plenty to ponder.
Keep those questions coming.
The universe is a vast and mysterious place.
Yeah,
And the most rewarding journeys are the ones that really challenge how we think about things.
absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.
I love it.